Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few short moments here after we get done setting up, we're going to kick off the round 3 seating bracket here at the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. Ben Bruno, if you would like to make your way over to the grandstand side to do your job, that would be extremely helpful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. If you're on the stream, just tuning in, we're just getting started here. Looks like Alex Gutierrez in the Volvo going to kick us off. Supposed to be a seating battle against Cody Logan. Cody, unfortunately, having a mechanical and is going to not be here. Gutierrez does not need to make this lap. He requested if he could anyway because, you know, what's one more lap of practice, I guess. And this is going to be the seating bracket for round 3 of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, brought to you by Crosby's, powered by Summit Racing Equipment. And after last night's event, absolutely intense last night, and we are getting right back into the action. This layout, much more dangerous, I guess is the best descriptor I could think of. These guys are going to be initiating against the wall, running the whole bank, and then there's a little bit of back and forth in the infield as well. Everything is walls. There is no safe place to be. If you overrun a zone, it's gonna hurt. Already had some casualties this morning in practice. A couple of cars out of the field, a couple of guys trying to get some stuff back together, hopefully for top 32 later on this evening.
Absolutely. It's exactly what I was thinking. We saw it in practice here a little bit earlier on, a couple of guys catching the wall, one of those guys being the hometown kid right here from Northeast Pennsylvania, Colin Gillespie. Fortunately, played that dangerous game of hide and seek with that big wall ride wall and sucked him in. And we also saw Jimmy Oates, actually not on the big bank wall ride, but down on the infield at that outer zone, also find that wall and end up with both ends of the car in it. So hopefully Jimmy and Colin can get it back together, but we'll just give you a little bit of pure sound here on this one of Alex Gutierrez making his bye run. Again, this is the seating bracket for round number 3 of the Crosby's Great Lakes Pro-Am Series presented by Summit Racing Equipment. I will say Alex seemed to have made a major change in practice about halfway through that really benefited him in practice, and he looked really smooth there on that bye run as well. So Alex gonna be looking to make his way into the top 32 here this evening for round number 3.
Yeah, you can see there what I was talking about. Every zone on the track, minus the one coming right down off the wall here, is an outside zone against a stack of barriers. So any mistake here is extremely dangerous, severe if punished by the walls. And if you've ever drifted on a bank, you know exactly how difficult that is, especially a lot of these guys going to be struggling a bit with maybe not necessarily having all the wheel speed and all the power. A lot of left foot braking, a lot of low angle stuff going on, and any little mistake in that process can be absolutely havoc for these guys.
Yeah, drivers got to be really careful about the walls here on this layout. Like you were mentioning before, quite a few casualties already just in practice alone, and now these guys got to put it all out there, throw down the best that they can, and hopefully nobody ends up in the wall. Knock on some wood with that one there. But right now up at the line, we do have our next battle for the seating bracket ready to go. It's going to be Nathan Brackstone getting ready to lead out Jake Mole in that beautiful blue BMW 1 Series out there.
Turbo V8 power under the hood for Mole from the chase position here. Brackstone with the LS under the hood in that Corvette. Brackstone all the way from Canada.
Yeah, getting to watch these guys in practice. Brackstone, towards the end of practice there, seemed to have it figured out. Super confident on initiation, right on the wall. And Jake Mole obviously has all the power in the world. He was up there all the time. Outside zone, not quite making it all the way up to the line, but Jake Mole, I mean, winning with that transition, absolutely fantastic. Rubbing bumpers there coming off the bank, the commitment you need to do to make that stick, absolutely fantastic.
Yep, wasting no time here in the seating bracket, getting right into it. As we saw these guys a little bit timid in practice, but have the nerves out of the way. We had a whole round of competition yesterday if you weren't able to join us. So both drivers looking cool, calm, and confident here early afternoon. It's a sunny, beautiful day in northeast Pennsylvania. A little bit of a breeze moving left to right of the speedway. Right here in vineyard country of northeast Pennsylvania, just outside Erie, Pennsylvania, sandwiched right between Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, if you're unfamiliar with the area. So if you're close, stop on out. You have plenty of time to get out. Grab a free Crosby's ticket. Stop at your local Crosby's. You can come out and watch with us here this evening. We'll get into top 32 about 4:30. And we'll have a autograph session shortly after that, and then we'll get into top 16. So make sure that you grab your ticket from your local Crosby's and get on out here to beautiful Erie Speedway, driven by pro racers.
Yeah, right now, just waiting in the line right now. Absolutely eager to ride. Jake and Nathan, they are waiting for us to go. I'm very excited. I just talked to him a little bit earlier today. He's feeling good. I'm watching him throughout practice, and he is looking dialed in that blue BMW. See what he's able to do here as the lights are off, the drivers are underway. It's going to be Jake to lead out Nathan Oh, and he collects it, and he is in the wall. Unfortunately for Jake, going to be collecting another tally onto the wall counter there. Nathan able to avoid that collision as well.
Great save on it, though. Got in there deep, able to get it woed up without, I guess for lack of a better term, we'll just call it a tank slap into the wall, as Darren likes to call it. Speaking of which, I told Darren he's got to be on his toes here this afternoon because we're looking for some more Darren action. Darren killed it in the pits yesterday. Take a look at the replay here. All just catching that back bumper and then just grazing up against the wall. So probably no real major damage for Mole, but ultimately I think that's going to give a huge, as the judges put it in, Nathan Brackstone advantage, unanimously winning over Jake Mole.
Yeah, hitting a wall on the outside of a bank like that is a super counterintuitive correction if you're a driver. Your options are basically, if you let off the throttle, it's going to suck you up the bank. You're going to do exactly what Jake Mole did there. He got pretty lucky with hitting it with both wheels straight there and able to drive out of it. The other option is, if you feel the wall, you just have to plant it on the floor and pray for daylight there. So ultimately getting out of it pretty scot-free, so good job on Jake there. Really unfortunate that gets taken out like that in the seating bracket. It's going to end up going to Nate Brackstone.
So up next, we have Dominic DeRosier in front of Jeff Clark. DeRosier from Canada, Jeff Clark from Ohio. Two very drastically different builds here, even down to the aesthetics. Jeff Clark, no stranger to the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, has been in it for several years. Looking to make his way into the top 32 here this evening. Same with DeRosier. So the drivers make it through the chicane. We'll see what kind of flick DeRosier makes. He goes for a straight line initiation. It leaves him just short. Jeff Clark way up against the wall, but several car lengths back now, heading into the infield. DeRosier really not taking good advantage of the zones here. Jeff Clark doing so in the chase, but I would probably think that could even be considered an inactive chase from Jeff Clark there.
Yeah, and I will say about just watching practice earlier today, DeRosier kind of looked like he was struggling with this layout. Maybe looks like the car has a little bit too much grip, and he just ends up driving down the bank there. But Jeff Clark maybe just doesn't have the speed in the Mustang to keep up, and you can see from the replay there, DeRosier just smoke rolling off the back of that JZ-powered S-chassis, moving out on Jeff Clark. Is super unfortunate, but now the situation is reversed, and DeRosier is going to have to prove that he can chase what is obviously a much slower car.
Yeah, one of the things to note that we did see during that practice session is that Dominic actually was out originally in the Z, so he ended up making the decision to switch over to the S chassis, maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable, but as a result, that is going to give him a little bit less practice in this car compared to some of his competitors. So we'll have to see how that plays out as he chases down Jeff Clark.
Yeah, and in case if you're ever wondering what ballin' looks like, having a 2JZ swap 350Z in your stacker trailer on top of your 2JZ swapped S413, 14.3, I think.
I don't know what it is, honestly.
It's pretty, and that's cool.
So an S14 chassis with an S13 front. So we get them flipped around here. Oh, Jeff Clark missed a gear on the run-up, puts him in just a little bit late. Not sure if he got it going by that third cone, but does a really beautiful job on the first two outer zones here. A little bit wide here. Oh, he makes contact with the wall, and he's off track. So unfortunately, Jeff Clark probably was going to walk away with a win here to that point. Obviously, I'm not a judge, but he was really, really filling the zones really, really well.
Yeah, and you can see there Jeff Clark just getting a little bit too overzealous coming off the bank and getting into that third outside zone. And like I said at the beginning of this, man, any little bit of overrun on these zones is going to be heavily punishable there. And you can see Dominic DeRosier going to move on unanimously over Jeff Clark. And yeah, that was extremely similar to what Oaks did earlier in practice, except for it didn't quite get Jeff all the way back into the barrier there. Earlier, I know the world wants to know what happened to Jimmy, and he did the exact same thing, except for ended up climbing the barrier. The car was airborne. It was actually kind of crazy looking, and it looked like
it was a hard hit.
Yeah, it was. The car actually looks like minimal-ish damage, but Jimmy ultimately said that he doesn't have spares for the parts that he did break. So ultimately, probably going to be the end of his weekend moving forward.
So if you're joining us on the live stream, thank you very much. Make sure you give the stream a share. Let everybody know that seating is underway. Hit up the homies. Make sure that they're not missing out on any of the action. If you joined us yesterday, you know we like to keep the flow of things going. We need a little bit of time to reline, let drivers get, you know, their tires changed, mounted, all that good stuff, whatever they might need. But we roll right through the show, so make sure that you give the stream a share, follow along with us at Great Lakes Pro-Am Series on YouTube. Hit the notifications bell and the subscribe button so you never miss out on any of the action. If you haven't already, head on over to Flow Racing and check out Flow Racing. Grab yourself a subscription, whether you're a Great Lakes Pro-Am Series fan, drag racing, dirt track racing, oval racing. They cover it all, wrestling, hockey. You can check it all out there where, you know, you sit at home, you have those moments where there's just nothing on the TV, Netflix, YouTube that you want to watch. There's always some form of racing on Flow Racing, so make sure that you go check that out. Take a quick second to give a shout out to all the sponsors. Distinct Drift, the tire provider of the Crosby's Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, sponsoring the outer zones as well. So Distinct Drift, a huge part of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, as we're going to see Nick Iannucci from Ohio take a bye run here.
Yeah, really interesting. A lot of the guys that ultimately don't have to do the bye run here in seating, choosing to do it anyway, trying to get another shot at maybe just one more lap of practice here on this track. And Nick Iannucci gets all the way to the end of his lap there and almost sends it around. Saves it, doesn't quite full loop, but I know in practice he was really struggling with coming off the bank and getting to that second outer zone. Just making the car match the line the way you want to, overrun it quite a bit. Handles it extremely well there in his bye run, and then just ends up getting a little bit too aggressive there, getting into that final outside zone.
Iannucci was scheduled to be up against Henry Donahue here in the seating bracket. if you were with us yesterday, you heard us talk about the trouble that Henry had leading into round number 2. Ultimately reared its head, just could not figure out the fuel system situation, and unfortunately unable to make a start here for round number 3. So up next, Andrew Wilder in the lead of Grayson McBride. Grayson McBride coming all the way to us from Canada, Ontario, Canada specifically. And Andrew Wilder all the way from Ohio. He shoots into outside zone number 1. Oh, Grayson hits the wall from the chase position. As Andrew Wilder coming very fast into the infield. Oh, he's going to make contact with the wall and blow all the back end of the car off there. Managed to keep one of the taillights, but the bumper and the quarter not appreciating that wall very much. Actually shifted the barrier down there a little bit.
Yeah, I got to say, this weekend, Nick, not having a really good time with the walls at this track. Yesterday, he had an incident very early on in the day with the wall, ended up the opposite way of what he should have been in the wall. So that was a rough hit. And now here, just taking the back end of the car right off, clean and clear. Looks like he actually left a bash bar down there at the K-rail. So definitely a little bit of a chaotic run there. We also saw Grayson in the wall in the chase position. So Nick opting to go for that little bit of an inside line out of the zone. Maybe not able to get all the way up to the bank, and unfortunately Grayson trying to fill the zones the best that he can from that chase pocket and just grabbing the wall a little bit. But I got to give credit to him. He ended up finishing out the run, so the car must not be too hurt.
Yeah, no, Grayson definitely in practice was flirting with that wall in the vet basically the whole time, trying to figure out that line. And just like to, nice calm reminder to all the fellas over there in the paddock still waiting to come out for seating bracket. This is qualifying, boys. You need to survive this part. Everyone needs to maybe calm down just a little bit. We love the action, but this much carnage early is really pushing our luck here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There's several drivers that have had to drop out because of mechanical failures, but I think that we are just slightly over 32 drivers. So a lot of the guys in the seating bracket here will have the opportunity to make their way into 32, so you definitely don't want to hurt your car this early on and take yourself out of competition for the day, especially if there's going to end up being some open spots in 32. Andrei Musienko unable to make it back to the Speedway. I forget exactly what he had going on, but Dirk Stratton also not able to make it back to the Speedway today. I heard that he blew his clutch up. They were thinking that he had a slave issue or a master cylinder issue here just a couple days before the event. And then so it rears its head there for Dirk at the end of the day yesterday. So unfortunately unable to make it back. As we had just mentioned, Henry Donahue, fuel pressure issues, had to end his weekend as well. So Cody Logan, the couple of fires, Jimmy Oakes hitting the wall in practice. So Colin Gillespie also hitting the wall in practice. Zach says Colin might be able to get it back together here to make his way. He would have not been in the seating bracket. So he's got some time to take a look at that car. So we're moving through the top 32 really quick right now because of it. And with that, I believe Grayson had to use his comp timeout. I mean, he got in the wall on his own accord and then went back to the pits to take a look at it, see what's going on. So the next battle that we were supposed to see would have been Brad Powell and Jake Schuster. So I see them sitting up in the paddock. I know Jake Schuster was fighting fueling issues. I got word that his foam in his fuel tank was disintegrating, getting into the fuel filter, clogging everything up. So maybe even a fuel pump issue for Jake Schuster, but he's sitting out there in just off to the side of gridding with Brad Powell. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but we are moving on to the first battle of the second half of seating. So this is back to the left side, Daquan Daniel against Alex Gutierrez. Daquan Daniel in the lead.
Yeah, Daquan with FA power. That's the stock engine for this. It's a flat four Subaru. Really, really nice job on initiation there. It stays up nice and high. Has to pull some angle out of the car trying to stay up there. Gutierrez just trying to keep up in the back there with the Volvo. Good transition there from 1 to 2. Gutierrez gets into the wall and ultimately taps the side of Daquan's car there. Almost the exact same spot it looks like as Wilder hit, maybe 1 or 2 K-rails earlier there, and they're chunks of Volvo out on the track, but we know the Volvo is going to be fine. If anything, the barrier is probably more hurt than the Volvo is.
Yeah, as a friend of mine was asking if he was going to be back out here, referred to that as the flying brick. So maybe the brick itself not flying, but definitely some parts flying off of the brick for sure, as he takes a pretty decent little hit on the wall there. But like you said, I think the wall took more of that hit than the car. And I do want to mention, I would say these are, technically speaking, 2 of the most unique cars on the grid. Because, again, that Subaru, powered by its stock motor, which we don't see that too often out here. And then, of course, going up against a Volvo, of all things, the big old wagon out there in gold.
Taking a look at the live stream comments right now, it sounds like Jimmy Oakes might be working on that thing still, trying to make it happen. So, pumped to hear that. He was killing it in practice. Was absolutely shredding the wall, had some of the best chase runs through all of practice as well. So, was certainly, you know, as we talked about yesterday, Eli was looking awesome yesterday. Jimmy was looking good yesterday, but Jimmy was the guy that really stood out to me all of practice from down on grid. So hopefully they can get it back together and get out here. He would be locked into competition, so he avoided the seating bracket here today. So he does have time to work on that thing if they can make repairs to it. So make sure that you stay posted here with us at Great Lakes Pro Am Series on YouTube and on Facebook at Lake Erie Speedway, and I believe at Propped Productions on Facebook as well. So all the coverage, you never want to miss it. Make sure that you follow all of the Facebook pages I just mentioned, and you'll never miss out on the Crosby's Great Lakes Pro Am Series presented by Summit Racing Equipment.
Yeah, and a big shout out to our crew guy down there working the forklift. He's definitely getting those certified hours in right now, moving these K-rails back and forth, as he's down there currently trying to get that wall line back up. Having a little bit of trouble making it line up perfectly, but shout out to him. He's going to be busy today, so stay hydrated out there.
Let us know where you're watching from, who you're rooting for here today, whether they're already locked into competition or not, who you think's going to win the seating bracket. We love to hear from you guys on the stream, so make sure you give it a share. As I mentioned, make sure none of the homies are missing out on the action, as whether it's door-to-door action or carnage against barriers, there's something to see here so far in the seating bracket.
Yeah, it looks like Daquan and Alex going to move off the track. Take a look at the cars after that hit, make sure everything's good to go. And it looks like Jake Schuster and Brad Powell making their way out to the burnout box now. As Ben said earlier, Schuster was having some fueling issues, and kind of a unique build here. It's an E36 with a small block Chevy with a carburetor on top of it. And Brad Powell's naturally aspirated LS power under the hood of the S chassis. I don't think I saw Jake do a single lap in practice, so really going to be interested to see how this pans out for him.
Yeah, if you got any, just a couple, so.
Yeah, earlier today in practice, Schuster did actually end up doing, I think, like 1 or 2 laps, but it ended up with him getting towed off of the track. So they're still fighting a little bit of trouble in that car. Hopefully they'll be able to clean that up going into the seating battles here, as him and Bradley are both at the line ready to go. Bradley's going to be leading him out for the first run here. Like lights are off, drivers are away. It's going to be Bradley leading out Jacob Schuster here. We'll see what they're able to do on the wall. Bradley initiates in right at that last cone. They're high on the wall, and Jacob with a little bit of contact behind him there It's going to send them down the bank a little bit early, but they're both going to keep it going. They're both in drift still. Jacob's going to dive through that smoke and get back up on him. Bradley barely avoiding that wall, maybe a little bit of a tap. The transition through. Oh, and Jacob taps him again, but that's not going to upset Bradley. He's going to finish out that run.
You can see the back of the E36 there looking slightly more narrow than when it started. Jake Schuster gets a little bit overzealous on initiation there. Brad Powell really high against the wall, straight line initiation, 3, 2, 1, maybe even just a hair late on initiation there. And Jake actually ends up staying a little bit higher up the bank than Brad did, but looks like both taillights still intact on the back of the E36, so he wasn't that deep, but you can see the trunks looking a little bit worse for wear. And right there through transition, Jake just pokes a tire into the back of the quarter panel there, the S chassis. Brad doesn't care at all, just keeps it on the floor and rolls it out.
Yeah, I know Jake loves these big bank layouts, and even from the chase position, really wanted to figure out where that limit was at the wall. So you know he's going to send it here in his lead run. Schuster from the lead. Initiates into outside zone number 1. Ends up a little bit short. Now walking the car out to the wall as Brad Powell falls several car lengths behind. Schuster misses most of outside zone number 2. To the inner clip, Powell starting to close up, ends up throwing a ton of angle from the chase and falling back out. So gonna be a tough one here for the judges. Mistakes on both sides of this one.
I mean, at least if nothing else, good safe lead there for Jake. Not really getting too squarely anywhere and working the car up the bank, not really just throw it at the wall and hope it all sticks. Brad looks like a little bit of a failure to launch there. Doesn't really get initiated before the 3-2-1 line, so that's going to be a big detriment on his behalf. You can see Schuster not really getting into that third outside zone. Hits the inner clip, good transition, gets into that full outside zone there to finish out the lap. How you can see just poking into the bottom of the screen there, trying to make up some ground.
Yeah, and it looked like in Jacob's lead there, coming into outside zone number 2, maybe just mistiming it a little, trying to extend the car all the way out into the zone as much as it can, and then unfortunately going towards outside zone number 3, just not transitioning on the right timing.
So up next, we're going to go back to the second leg of Grayson McBride versus Andrew Wilder. Both drivers able to ail or having no significant damage from this one. Both took pretty good licks. Again, if you have some short-term memory, McBride from the chase position got into the big bank wall. Andrew Wilder, carrying a ton of speed into the infield, ended up in the K-rails on a very hard hit. Took the bash bar off the back of the car, so certainly not a light hit.
Yeah, there was a couple of close calls with Wilder this morning in practice as well. That car looks so fast in drift, but man, he really seems to struggle with getting it out to that first zone. And then coming through the infield here, it's got so much speed behind it that it just looks really, really difficult to manage. Looks like Jake Schuster there unanimously going to take it over Brad Powell. So a really good job there from Jake. Need to go back in the pits and put a porta power back there, stretch some panels back out, and make that trunk flat again. And we'll see him here later on. All right, you can see there on the screen, Grayson McBride, Andrew Wilder, as we had mentioned. Grayson going to lead the way this time around. Grayson's lead run's looking absolutely stellar in practice, so really eager to see what happens here. You can see their good high initiation, puts the corner of the vet right on the wall. 1 tire, 2 tires in the zone, leaves just a little bit early. Dips the tire into that second outside zone. Good transition up to that wall there for the third outside. Makes his way back to the inner clip. Wilder just a little bit shallow in the inner clip, takes out the clip and ends up looping the car. Saves it, doesn't quite spin out, but ultimately drives off track there to finish out the second half of this battle.
Andrew Wilder legitimately threw that inner clip like a banana peel up forwards towards Grayson McBride there. You actually see it here in the replay as we take a look at it. McBride, as Zach had mentioned, was doing this all of practice. Beautiful initiation, 1, 2, 3, 4 gears. Ends up driving out a little bit early. misses most of outside zone number 2, gets to outside 3, inner clip, boom, right under the back tire, and Grayson ends up right up against the wall, so kind of a funny one there.
All right, and there it is on the screen. Grayson McBride unanimously taking the win over Andrew Wilder. All right, it looks like back out on track now we have Nathan Brackstone and Dominic Desrosier.
So yeah, Nathan and Dominic getting ready to go out here. This is now into the top 8 of the seating bracket here. So earlier we saw Dominic come out, took down Jeff Clark, Nathan Brackstone taking out Jake Mull. So both of these guys got a little bit of seat time in them for the competition side of things now. They're ready to do it again here, see which one of them is going to advance on to the top 4 of the seating bracket. As you can see right there, Nathan Brackstone from London, Ontario. Dominic also from Ontario, up there in Drummondville.
Yeah, really interesting to see the progression from Nathan Braxton. I know in the past he was having some mechanical issues with that car, and it seems like this year he's got him all sorted out. And you can see really nice initiation by Braxton, really high up in the zone, sits a tire on the wall all the way through that first outer zone. There's Rosier there, right behind him, maybe 2 cars back. Braxton fills all that second outside zone and finds his way into that K-rail. Man, that thing is proving to be a killer here in the top 32 seating bracket, all the way to top 8. And see what Desrosier, though, does in the lead. It's not like the door's completely shut for Nate. Definitely going to be a big, big detriment there, though.
Yeah, it's crazy. We really didn't see a whole lot of this during practice with this infield wall here, as the fire and safety team and some track officials going to run down and make sure that everything's sitting in line. Certainly don't want somebody T-boning in, but seems like maybe just, a little bit of kick there. But, you know, with that happening for Brackstone from the lead position, it's how you're going to follow it, too. So, unfortunately, probably going to be the biggest detriment against Nathan Brackstone as we get the forklift to make a small shift. Certainly don't want anybody deadheading into the K-rail edge here. So we'll get that squared up real quick here.
Yeah, and one of the things to note now that Dominic is going to be out in that lead position is that what we've been seeing throughout practice, throughout so far seating as well, not really getting all the way out to the top of the outside zone number 1 along the wall there. So definitely something to watch out for here. We'll see what Nathan can do in the chase position to keep in the chase pocket. We'll see how he attacks him from behind.
Just giving a quick second here to get the barriers put back in while we wait. Just give you guys a quick rundown on the happenings last night if you didn't get a chance to tune in. Eli Lucier taking home the win last night in absolutely phenomenal fashion. He was a favorite in practice and came out and just looked like a world beater all night long. Second place ended up going to Mr. Jimmy Oakes for the first time here at Lake Erie. To come out and just party the way he did in an all-new fresh build and throw it down and doing an extremely good job. And then Theon Nelson, the talk of the town, I do believe that would actually put him leading the points, I believe. Theon Nelson with his second podium there. Always a humble guy. He said last night in his interview that he shows up to events never really expecting to win anything, so anything that happens is good news provided the car gets to drive itself off the track. And, I mean, what a way to go out. Super polite, super nice, and just my apologies. I'm sorry. Steve DeVitis. It was written incorrectly on my sheet. That's my bad. Took second place, not Jimmy. But regardless, Theon Nelson leading the points here in the series. 2 podiums so far this season. And we saw him in practice. He looked great on this layout. He looked super confident, so super eager to see what happens moving forward tonight.
You know, Jimmy may not have taken the podium during the main show, but he did actually go all the way in seating bracket, and he took that home with a win. So Jimmy came out. He put down a really good performance yesterday. Unfortunately today, just having that hit with the K-rails in practice. Sounds like, according to some people in the YouTube chat, though, that they are over there trying to get that car fixed as much as they can, as he is not in seating, so he advances right into the top 32 today. See if they're able to get that car repaired and back on track to put on even more of a show for everybody watching along.
Barriers are back in place. We're ready for the second half of this one. An all-Canadian battle, an all-Ontario battle between Dominic DeRosier and Nathan Braxton. Jared running to safety. Waiting on our starter, Brian Reichert, if I'm not mistaken here. Oh, Jared making his way back. Yes, the restart man. I didn't realize. All right, so the second half of this one is underway. Braxton falls way behind here off of the rip. This Rosier missing all of outside zone 1 and 2. Playing it safe on 3 as well. Does a good job on the inner clip. Maybe just a touch short on 4, so kind of like we saw in his first battle of the night. A timid lead run for Dominic Desrosiers.
Yeah, I could only imagine after that first run with what happened with Braxton out in the lead position that he's definitely going to want to play it safer here, try to get a complete run in the books, make sure that he doesn't do anything that's going to be a big detriment to him. Obviously, he did miss 2 of the zones and almost a third zone entirely. You can see right there, just barely getting into it towards the end there. Grabs that inside clip, and then slightly dips a tire into the last outside zone, and Braxton just nowhere to be found throughout the entire run.
Yeah, I would have to believe that Braxton there, as he left the line, maybe missed a gear or something. And Dominic Desrosiers is indeed going to take the decision unanimously over Nathan Braxton.
All right, so up next, Alex Gutierrez and Daquan Daniel for the second half of their battle. As we saw Alex's Volva get into the wall on the infield. Both drivers initiate into outside zone number 1. Daquan Daniel right there in tow around the bank, doing a nice job of following the line that Alex is on. Down into the infield, Alex getting all of zone 2 and 3. Nice job on the inner clip by both drivers. So Daquan Daniel doing what he needs to do here. You'd have to imagine that should be a pretty straightforward one for the judges.
Yeah, those 2 cars actually shockingly comparable. It looked like in speed, angle, all things combined, especially for being 2 insane opposites. I mean, the brick-shaped Volvo with the LS under the hood, and then the modern shape of the FRS GT86 chassis, whatever you feel like calling it. And there you go. Daquan Daniel is indeed going to take the win over Alex Gutierrez. Gutierrez with the hard fought. It looks, like I said earlier, the Volvo looks fine. It's maybe missing a bumper. It made it slightly cooler, took the big chin spoilers off the back of it.
And right now, up at the line, getting ready to go for their battle here. Both of these guys ended up with bye runs in the 16 of seating. Going to be Nick Johnson and Nick Yanucci. Yanucci piloting that beautiful green-colored RX-8 Mazda. And then we've got Nick Johnson in the red Mustang S550 to chase him down here. Just waiting on the starter to go here.
You can see there on screen Nick Yanucci coming from Vermilion, Ohio. Nick Johnson coming from Gobles, Michigan. And both of these guys doing a fairly good job in practice. Yanucci, like I said earlier, really, really good at getting out to that first outside zone, and then let's see if he can make this line work again for him to get to the second outside zone. As they initiate, Yanucci gets way up right against that wall. You can see the tire fuzzies coming off the back of the car. Shoots down the bank a little bit, has to make a big correction there. but makes that second work. And then big hit. Yanucci puts it into the barrier, and Nick Johnson follows him in. The RX-8 definitely going to be significantly worse from where there. You can see it on the screen. The whole back end of that car just shoved all the way back to the tires. Nick Johnson in the S550, as he's pulling off, I can just see him on the other side of the tracks missing a tail light, and the bumper looks a little bit tweaked. But, I mean, man, Yanucci went in hard. I hope he's all right down there.
Yeah, I'm just so surprised. I mean, I heard the judges just saying it a second ago. I mean, this was not a problem in practice. Again, I know I already said it. I guess I don't understand what would have changed here from practice to seating. I mean, everybody ran the layout really, really well. And I mean, nobody ever wants to see people's stuff, you know, get in bad shape like this. So handfuls of guys having a hard time. Hopefully Nick Yanucci's all right down there. See him moving around in the car. Gets out. Glad to see Nick's all right. That was not an easy hit. Gets to the back of the car, but it just seems like everybody's carrying too much speed off. Well, not everybody, but a lot of guys are carrying a lot of speed off the bank into outside zone number 2, and then just having a hard time getting checked up to get to outside 3, and kind of shallow on the line and really throwing it down into outside zone number 3 really hard.
This is another one of those incidents where we want to give a very big and grateful shout out to the safety crews working here at Lake Erie Speedway. They got over there as fast as physically possible, checking on Nick, making sure that he's okay, checking out the car, looking over the barriers. Very, very thankful to have them here. Very quick response times. Big shout out to the safety guys.
Again, in the live stream chats, let us know where you're watching from, who you're rooting for here in round number 3 of the Crosby's Great Lakes Pro-Am Series presented by Summit Racing Equipment. We had a ton of fun during practice. We're having a ton of fun now, but for some of these drivers, not so much fun as we get another dose of it here with Nick Yanucci. Nick Johnson did a nice job here of avoiding a really serious problem and getting into the back of Nick Yanucci after they got into the wall. Again, seeing that tank slap effect where the back of the car gets into the wall first, brings the front end around into it. Not an easy situation to handle. So, again, just glad to see that everybody's all right, especially that Nick Johnson was able to get that Mustang woed up and just make a little bit of contact. So,
yeah, it looks like some of the people watching along at home there in the chat, trying to get these drivers ready to look at the comments whenever they do make the jump up to FD. I see some LZ mentions, some Higa mentions in there already, so Bora Brazil, I guess. And I will say, from up here in the spotter tower, some good news for everybody watching along at home. I am currently watching Jimmy Oaks' car make its way through the pits. So it looks like they do have that car up and running again. You can see it in the background of the stream right now. That is Mr. Jimmy Oaks moving that S14 under its own power. So you see right there, the entire left rear quarter panel is ripped off of the car. They're going to do whatever they can to get that thing back out here and put on a show for everybody watching along at home. So make sure you stay tuned after the seating bracket, 32, not too far to follow afterwards.
So again, let's take a quick look at the schedule. If you weren't able to join us yesterday, we are following the same exact schedule. We just started the seating bracket here at 2:30. At 4 p.m., if you went over to Crosby's, got yourself a free ticket, the main grandstand's open at 4. We'll have autographs from your favorite drivers at 4:30 p.m. And at 5 o'clock, top 32 begins. So you have plenty of time if you haven't already. A couple-hour drive for you to Lake Erie Speedway. You can still make it and catch plenty of the action here this evening. You'll probably make all of the top 32 into 16, the finals, everything. And you won't want to miss it because there's never a shortage of action. And unfortunately, a lot of the action that we've seen so far here in the seating bracket has been collisions with the infield wall. But so we get through it. We'll get on to top 32 at 5, opening ceremonies, and we go live on Flow Racing at 8 p.m. with top 16 kicking off at 8:15, and we assume that the finals battles will be started about 10 p.m. So that'll all flow straight through. You can come out, bring the family. It's a beautiful day here, just a couple miles south of Lake Erie, just east of Erie, Pennsylvania, in northeast PA. Beautiful vineyard country, wineries, all the stuff. If you've never been out, make sure that you head over to www.lakeeriespeedway.com. Check the schedule out. We're the better portion of the way through it now, but we have an event for everybody here at Lake Erie Speedway, driven by Pro Waste.
You can see there on the screen they got Nick's RX-8 lifted up, and they are taking him off track. Really, really unfortunate series of events there. I know that's got to be a big hit for the pride of Nick. Not to mention the fact that you're going to have to go back and hopefully the car can be salvaged. It didn't look that terrible. I know the back half of that car is pretty well open. It's definitely like a full bash bar car, maybe even a tube chassis car. So should be all right. Hopefully he can get it. Probably not today, but at some point get her back in action. So it's really unfortunate. And like Ben said earlier, I'm not really sure what happened between practice. I mean, we watched probably close to 100 laps in practice, and I don't think anyone actually really hit a wall for the most part. Everyone was just maybe playing it safe. And now that we're in competition, everyone gets a little bit of adrenaline flowing, gets some nerves, and goes full send. But at the same time, this is a seeding bracket, so this is basically qualifying. These guys are competing here in the bracket just to see how they're going to stack up moving on into the actual top 32 later on this evening, as Ben had just mentioned with the schedule there.
While we have a minute, make sure if you're over on the pit side that you stop by the Rusty Wheel, check out everything that they have to offer. Before we got going today, I stopped by and grabbed myself a Philly cheesesteak. It was absolutely awesome. But one of my personal favorites, the Drifter, it's chicken tenders, mozzarella sticks, bacon, and buffalo sauce. Pepper jack cheese, too, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I know that they're more than willing to, if you have a small request to make, like you want American cheese or something like that, they'll cater to what they have available for you. So make sure you stop by the Rusty Wheel, grab yourself something to drink, something to eat, stay hydrated. It's a hot one out here. The sun is shining, and there's very few clouds in the sky. So make sure you get that H2O in you.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a hot one here at Lake Erie Speedway. So if you're planning on joining us in the building later today, make sure that you're hydrated. Not a whole lot of cloud coverage going on out here, so it is very sunny. Sun is definitely beating down the media guys out there. Absolute troopers on the track. They are braving all the heat, so making sure they get those good shots as they're down there inspecting the K-rail. So shout out to the media guys down there working hard. And big shout out to Jared on the forklift, putting in that work down there.
Looks like Nick Johnson going to go ahead and roll back into the pits there. I can't imagine there's any chance that Nick Yanucci going to make his way back out, so that's going to be the end of that.
So Nick Johnson just needing to make the start there, makes his way back to the pits. Again, we have several more battles here in the seating bracket before we get towards the end. So make sure, if you haven't already, give the stream a share, as some of the best battles of seating have yet to even happen. Shout out to Neff for joining us in the grandstands here this evening.
Liam Sheem. Where's your car at, Liam? I see you. We're over here. Why ain't you driving? You're gonna post how cool having a turbo V8 is on Instagram, but don't bring it out to play? What's going on?
Turbo and LS, the best way to keep it parked in your garage, if you ask me. I had options on power here, and I wanted to keep her NA. I'd love to have a turbo car, so don't mean to be throwing shade at Neff, but live, laugh, love, Ben. We like to keep it loose here at the Crosby's Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. That's one of the great things. So if you've never been to a Matt's Erie event, the next one is going to be Neon Glow. We're going to bring a bunch of UV light out here on the track. And last year was cool. This year, tons of improvements on the UV side of it. So going to be really cool. We shut all the lights down. We paint up the barriers. You can see some of that facing the booth here on the barriers that you can see right on the live stream right now. That little pink writing next to that teal colored arrow from last year's. We let everybody come down on track and right on the K-rails with some UV paint or marker, whatever we could find to be nice and reflective. So we get some true night drifting action for Neon Glow Matt's Erie. Make sure that you check that out. You can walk right up to the gate and buy a ticket at the event. Come right in the pit side, hang out with all the drifters, check the cars out, have a good time, bring the family out, as the fun at Lake Erie Speedway driven by Pro Waste is for everybody.
Yeah, and if you just want an idea of the scale, of the magnitude of a Matt's Erie event, how many cars do you think are here right now, Ben? Probably 80?
Hang on.
Oh.
There's heinousness going on in the live stream chat right now. Manav says, shout out to Anthony Steinman for sounding like Ben. Bro, no way. No way, Manav. No way. Just for that, I'm not teaching you anything at the clinic tomorrow. Just kidding.
Manav, welcome back to C Group, buddy. Looks like Miles Spellman finally found a keycap for the caps lock button. Good job, buddy.
No, it also looks like Mile finally going to get back to work instead of sitting here blowing his keycaps up.
I love how we went from nice drifting live stream to just absolute roast of the of commenters. That's why we love you guys, though. So thanks for joining us on the live stream. Again, if you're on the live stream and you're one of the Jimmy Oaks followers, Jimmy did lock himself into competition here this evening. He did have contact with this wall that we're trying to fix right now earlier in practice. It sounded like had mangled some stuff in the Wise Fab front and rear potentially and did not have any spares, but we did just see his car make a lap around the pits here just a couple minutes ago. So we're really hopeful to see Jimmy in action here this evening, as he was for sure at least my favorite in practice. I mean, he just didn't waver all of practice, filled all the zones really, really nice and fluent. So not trying to sound like I work at Krispy Kreme here or nothing, but
Yeah, I see there in the live stream chat, is Eli going to be in seating when he fixes his clutch? No, because Eli does not need to be in seating. Eli is well into making it into the top 32 tonight, provided he can get that car fixed.
Yeah, on one hand, we've got Steve DeVittis, the Keystone Killer. I think that Eli might end up being the clutch killer at this rate. Sounds like he's really beating that thing into the box. So right here, we can take a look at the bracket, see how things are shaking up so far. We've got our first battle lined up for the top 4 of seeding here. It's going to be Daquan Daniel to take on Dominic Desrosiers. Then we do have Nick Johnson already into the top 4. What we're waiting to see, and it looks like they are out there in grid ready to go whenever we get the track fixed up. To wrap out the top 8 of seeding, going to be Jacob Schuster to take on Grayson McBride here.
Yeah, and Daquan Daniel, this being his first time at Lake Erie Speedway, as far as I know, definitely the first time at the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. And Dominic Desrosiers was here for round 1 and obviously last night at round 2. But at round 1, having some mechanical issues there, didn't make it very far. Round 2 last night ended up getting knocked out a little bit early. And here you can see in the seating bracket, making his way through. Hopefully got this kind of figured out. He's definitely a little bit shallow here and there on the zones, but Daquan Daniel definitely doing everything he needs to do here for being his first time. And definitely with the 2-liter under the hood, flat 4 power still in the FRS GT86 chassis. Big old turbo out there in front though, so very, very interesting build. I do hope that he gets it painted. I want it to be all one color. It's a very good shape.
I got to give a quick shout out to Static Motion Garage, giving us some really nice updates from the pit side here at Lake Erie Speedway, driven by Pro Waste in the comments. The transmission is back in Eli's car, so Eli going to be ready to go, it sounds like, here for action tonight. As I was mentioning, hopefully Jimmy, Colin Gillespie as well, working on that car back in the pits, so hopefully he's able to get it back together and ready to go.
All right, it looks like we have got the go-ahead to line up some cars. You're going to have Grayson McBride and Jacob Schuster. Jake Schuster with 358 cubic inch small block Chevy. And Grayson McBride with the right-hand drive 1-of-1 custom-built Corvette. See what the goings-on is here. Is Jake Schuster going to lead the way? Good initiation by both drivers. Jake Schuster really high up on the wall. Grayson McBride falling back just a little bit. Schuster able to fill all of that first outside zone. Grayson making up a little bit of ground. Both guys coming up a little bit short on outside zones 2 and 3, maybe a little tentative with that wall action happening. Now as they come to the final outside zone, really, really good job on the bank, and then after that, kind of getting shallow just about everywhere from the looks of it from both guys.
Yeah, throughout that run there, it looked like right out of the gate, as we're going to see it on the replay here, Jacob Schuster on the initiation, nice on the bank there. He initiates in right here on the replay. He stays nice and high, keeps that tire in. What you do not see on the screen there is Grayson McBride in the chase, almost on a little bit of a collision course with the wall, had to drop some angle and play a little bit of catch-up. But then right here, coming in outside zone number 3 throughout that transition, you see Jacob in the lead, straightening up a little bit and having to reinitiate that car. So 2 mistakes from both of these guys, a little bit that they could each capitalize on as they switch it around for the second half of this battle.
All right, Grayson McBride going to lead the way here. And as I said earlier, Grayson has a really, really nice lead line. Hopefully he can maintain that moving forward. You can see really good initiation, well within the 3-2-1 cones, nice and high on the bank. Jake Schuster, though, right up there with him, maybe a 2-car gap between the two. Grayson dips a tire into that second outside zone. Doesn't quite make it to the beginning of that third outside zone, but finds his way into it there towards the end. Hits that inside clip, pulls a little bit of room out on Jake there, coming through the infield, and gets all of that final outside zone. And I am seeing there in the chat, there's insider news for Ben. Looks like Colin's car is back together, so that is good news all around. Hopefully it works out. Was really upsetting to see Colin maybe get taken out in practice, but if this comment is to be believed, Colin getting the car back together. You can see there on the replay, Grayson McBride fills all that first outside zone, gets a tire into the second, doesn't get into the first half of that third outside zone, and then actually overruns it a little bit, puts a tire out the back of the zone, fills all of the final, gets up to the wall there. Jake Schuster, though, definitely not inactive by any means in the chase, but Grayson McBride unanimously going to take the decision over Jake Schuster here in the seeding bracket.
Finally getting to see Grayson come to form here in the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, competed in his 8-6 for a season or two with us. Up next, we're going to have Daquan Daniel in the lead out front of the Canadian Dominic Desrosiers. So, tale of two tales here. David and Goliath, it's all water under the fridge. Daquan Daniel with the FA20 turbo under the hood. Desrosiers with JZ power. As the drivers make their way through the chicane, Daquan initiates into outside zone number 1, right up against the wall. Desrosiers doing a nice job of closing the gap back up here as Daquan leaves outside 1 just a little bit early, a little bit shallow on outside 2 as Desrosiers lurches to the door in outside zone number 3, but temporarily straightens. Daquan ends up real short on outside zone number 4, but Dominic, a little bit of trouble on the infield here, maybe getting that Turbo JZ bogged down a little bit after making that transition.
Yeah, watching it back on the replay here, I really like how Daquan entered into that first zone, tried to flick it as close to the wall that he could on the bank there. Fortunately, he does drive out of it a little bit early, but Dominic right there in the pocket through that part. And right here you see him kind of having to play a little bit of catch-up and coming through outside zone number 3. Looks like maybe missing a clutch kick or something, just comes out of drift slightly, has to reinitiate. But Daquan out in the lead, doing what he's got to do to get it done.
Yeah, I can say from listening to DeRosier drive earlier today and throughout the season as a whole, that car is very turbo dependent, and it is a little bit laggy for sure. So you really gotta keep on it to keep it going. Good initiation by both drivers. DeRosier a little bit shallow all the way through that first turn, doesn't get out to that first outside zone, makes it to the second. You can see Daquan trying to dive in there, make up some ground on DeRosier as they make their way through that inner clip, back up to this final outside zone. Daquan definitely a little bit behind there, but definitely outgunned severely power to power wise, and doing the best he can. Does not by any means become inactive in the chase. He was right where he needed to be, maybe just a few cars too far back to make it super duper exciting, but very, very good job by both of these guys. And you can see on the replay, DesRosiers never does get up to the bank wall. It almost seems like he does it better in chase.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about a lot yesterday as drivers kept going through battles is that the lead car, if they go too inside off of a zone and they don't get all the way out there, that ends up making them speed up quite a bit, as we do see Gillespie in the background there driving around, so that's good news. And right there it is, Daquan Daniel going to take the win on that one.
Daquan tearing his way through the seating bracket here today, getting word from the comments that Daquan is a wheelman on the sim, so brings up a good point. We do have a public Discord if you guys want to hang out with some of the staff members, some of the drivers of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. It's where we hosted all of our virtual drifting series over the winter. I believe it's just on Discord. The username should be Drift PAOHNY Gaming. So you can join that Discord, use it as a common space if you'd like. For all these Seto shreds, there's always a lot of guys looking to make rips. So Grayson McBride gonna pull away from the line here to start the lap. So he was scheduled to be up against Nick Johnson, as we saw Nick Johnson come to rest just up against Nick Iannucci after hitting that K-rail wall on the infield. So unfortunately for Nick Johnson, going to be unable to continue. If not, he is into competition here this evening, so maybe just opting for a little bit of self-preservation here and some time to get to work on that Mustang. So hopefully that's the case, because it's always a fun time to get to watch Nick Johnson make some laps here in the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series.
Yeah, so right now that's going to set us up for our final battle of seeding bracket. It's going to be DeQuan to take on Grayson McBride. So I think you said it best earlier with the David and Goliath battles, Ben. That is a heck of a difference of cars, going from an FA-powered BRZ to that big, powerful Corvette of Grayson McBride there. But both of those guys obviously just getting done with some runs. They're going to have to go back, get some fresh tires, prep the cars up for this final battle. So we're going to have a little bit of downtime here while they get ready. But soon they'll be back out on track. Looks like DeQuan actually already making his way back out here. So very, very quick tire change, if they even change the tires in that time. But yeah, we're going to get them ready to go here, and then we will be right at it with the final battle of seeding bracket today.
It's not wasting much time at all here. Both drivers ready to do battle, no tire changes needed. DeQuan Daniel and Grayson McBride for the final of the seeding bracket. We moved right on through it. Again, just a quick reminder, you can head to Crosby's, or if you're a couple hours away from where we're located at Lake Erie Speedway, there's plenty of time for you to get out here, swing through a Crosby's on your way into town, grab some free tickets. Don't forget to pick up the homies on the way and come watch top 32 and top 16 action, as I'm sure it's going to be a thriller. What we saw in practice was great. You love to see it. We got pro drivers out here. We got some drivers that have only been driving for a year or two. And right now we have DeQuan Daniel, a rookie in the Crosby's Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, looking to take home the win on the seeding bracket against Grayson McBride from Canada. Both drivers get through the start chicane. A big horsepower difference here between the two cars. Probably the best entry that we've seen from Grayson McBride in the chase position yet today. Really wants to take home the win of the seeding bracket. DeQuan, oh, a big surge forward now from McBride to the front wheel, right up against DeQuan's front wheel into outside zone number 4. Absolutely beautiful run between both drivers. Both drivers rising to the occasion here in the final of the seeding bracket. What did you think about that, Brandon?
I got to say, I did not think that transition going in outside zone 3 was going to play out very well there. Grayson absolutely hucking it at the side of that BRZ FRS 86, whatever you want to call it. I think they call it an SN6 or some weird chassis code. I'm not too familiar, but ZN6, that's the one. Thank you, Zach. But, yeah, just absolutely hucking it right up on the side and making it work. Ends up right on the door, maybe even tapping him a little bit before the transition into 4. Just a beautiful run altogether there. Very well played by Grayson in the chase. But, again, like we've talked about, you cannot have a good chase without a good lead run. That's exactly what we saw DeQuan give him there, as they are going to switch it around now and run it again.
Yeah, and you'd have to assume that DeQuan knows his work is cut out for him here. Going to have to chase down a significantly faster car, and especially with the way Grayson handled that. Grayson, really, really good initiation there in the lead, fills all that first outside zone. DeQuan, though, not to be pulled away from. He is within a car there, does the exact same surge right up to the side of the door of Grayson, ends up falling out of drift and has a big, big correction there, straightens up, has to reinitiate in that final outside zone. But shout out to DeQuan there for the, you're not going to scare me with that action. I'm going to come right back and give it to you here on the other side. Grayson McBride in the lead, doing a very, very good job. DeQuan in the chase, doing everything he could there to keep up and stay in touch. And you can see there on the replay, like I said, Grayson just way up there, right on the wall. DeQuan, though, maybe just a line down the track there, but definitely not out of the picture. Both of them getting a tire into that second outside zone. And you can see this big surge. Grayson actually had to check up quite a bit to avoid finding his way outside of the track there. And DeQuan dives in at the same time, kind of a compounding error there on both sides of the sword.
Yeah, as the kids these days might say, DeQuan definitely wanted the smoke from the chase position here. But getting some comments in that we're going to be working on getting a really nice model of Lake Erie Speedway. There is a couple models of Lake Erie Speedway already available on Assetto Corsa. The FD Erie layout back from when Formula Drift was here, and the Vibes 2022 layout is on there as well. So I know that there's a couple of guys that participate in the Mat Series events that have made some versions of Lake Erie Speedway that aren't public. They don't share them with anybody really. I know our layout maker, shout out to him down there lining the track, Sean Callahan, uses to kind of dream up some of the ideas for Mat Series events, and it also lends a nice hand for thinking about how we want to set up these layouts here. But obviously most of these layouts we use are replicas of Formula Drift layouts. So, and if you don't know, the man that might be behind helping get some of these tracks available for everybody at home that likes to run Assetto Corsa, he's right here in the booth with us, Brandon.
Yeah, so while we're waiting on the judges to make a decision, I'll talk about that a little bit. I do have another track in the works right now based on South Mountain. Some of our PA guys might know that track quite well. I know they have an event right now. As the decision is in, your winner of the seeding bracket here is going to be Grayson McBride, taking out Daquan Daniel in the seeding bracket. He's going to be taking it all the way to the top of seeding. See what he's able to do later on here in the top 32, but there is your final bracket. First place, Grayson, Daquan taking second, Dominic Desrosiers going to take third, and then Nick Johnson taking fourth place. And for those of you who are in the chat asking about the sim, again, my name is Brandon, also Strepidemic in the chat, so you saw a little bit there. But yeah, we're working on a new version of Erie. We're going to include one of the Mat Series layouts. We're going to get some of the Pro-Am layouts from this year in there. We'll give you an open track too, so stay tuned on that. Try to get something for you guys so that you can practice at home.
As we see down here on the front stretch, we'll have a little, I guess I don't know what I want to call it, a photo opportunity here for these two, and a giveaway, as the winner of the seating bracket will take home a $250 certificate to Summit Racing Equipment, LS Power Under the Hood for Grayson McBride. Certainly going to be useful. Everybody joining us on the stream, we will be live again here in just a little bit, so make sure you tell the homies, because we're going to be getting into the thick of the action here starting at 5 p.m. for top 32 action. You're not going to want to miss any of it. As if you haven't already, I know I harp about it all day long, that you hit that notifications bell and subscribe at Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. Make sure that you do that, but make sure you let everybody know the action for top 32 will be getting underway at 5 p.m. So tune back in with us here on Facebook at Lake Erie Speedway at Propped Productions and on YouTube at Great Lakes Pro-Am Series at 5 p.m. For Ben Bruno, Zach Snyder, and Brandon Dempsey signing off. We'll see you in about an hour.